Recording in progress. Let's go. What's up, good people? It is your main man, international man of mysteries, the man in black, never whack, always on the peaceful attack. The Bad Wolf. Welcome to Badwolf Unincorporated. If you'd be ever so kind, hit that bell, like, and subscribe, and welcome to the motherfucking tribe. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and apparently I've got a large group of young listeners out there. So hey, if you're listening to this and you're young, I appreciate you. Thanks for chiming in because I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Oh, sorry. Probably lost half of them right there. All right. But what's good? So, first of all, we want to send credit out to mytaxhouse.com. Appreciate the information you guys have put together here. Right there. Fair use. This is on the internet, so fair use. With that being said, what is this video about? It's about what is income effectively connected with a trade or business in the United States. What does it mean? What does it all mean, Basil? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means that along with the somewhat deception of paying taxes, taxes are not illegal. What they've done is not fraud per se. It is a business, and it is something that you do not overstand the law. It has become so normal to pay taxes that to talk against it sounds like lunacy. And don't forget, I am just a madman in a box here. So do your own due diligence and vetting of the information. But there's a reason why we've beaten them countless times in court, and other people are now learning how to do this as well and to live private and free as nationals, state citizens, and non residents. Now, remember, non residents is their word. It literally just means you're not in that moment operating as a U.S. citizen. You were born as a national and a state citizen, Floridian, New Yorker, Wisconsinite, Californian, but also by at your birth. So your birth, by birth, right, and at your birth are two separate things. At your birth, you were given the ability to identify legally as a U.S. citizen. Those are the two primary statuses, well, status and standing in the United States of America. They're both recognized, but they're not the same. In other countries, nationality and citizenship are the same thing, but not here, mon frere. Under 8 U.S.C. or no, excuse me, 8 FAM, section 300, or specifically 301.1, it breaks it down. Now I'm gonna break it down just to tell a little story straight out the box from the gangster category. Oh, started rapping. All right. So you have to understand that they do not like, they're not gonna like this video either, but tear gone, sad no more. They never fully explain and define the word income. Okay. From what I've read, income really is money generated from stocks, bonds, things of that nature, generally by either a person or a corporation. So a person or a corporation can buy stocks, bonds, and whatever else, and that is income because it is commercial. Income is commercial. Income is public and commercial. When you're at work, you're not generating income, though they call it gross income, but it's grossly mislabeled. And by law, you can actually force them to redefine that term on your paycheck with your HR. It probably won't do it, and it's probably a headache. That's why we just found other ways to go around it because you're not generating income. When you're generating compensation, it does not have a label other than compensation until it hits something That's either taxable or not taxable. That is it. So now you know what income means, and effectively connected means that it is appropriately attached to something that is taxable, okay, with a trade or business. Now, I should go on to say in the United States. So as we break this down, you start to understand that they own the word right here, U.S. trade. They own the word business, okay? Operating something does not mean it's a business. Transferring goods between one person to another person doesn't necessarily mean it's a trade unless it's public and taxable and U.S. When I do my business with certain other people, we are bartering. We travel, they drive. We record, they register. We have certificate of live birth and heirloom document, and they have the birth certificate. These are different words depending on if you're in the private or in the public. It's a form of deception. But really what it is that these are their terms for being inside their jurisdiction willingly. So you have to effectively or make an election to connect these things. Under the IRS code 25.1.1.3.3, under tax avoidance versus evasion, says that tax avoidance by anybody is legal as long as it's done within the merit of the law, which is what we do here. Take that, 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 take that. Now, let's listen to what it says in here about income effectively connected. And I'll point out what I know versus what they may or may not have in this article. So I already kind of gave you the breakdown. That's how you break down the syntax of this sentence on a legal level. What is this? What do these actual words really mean? You don't understand what these words mean, or actually, rather, you understand them, you don't overstand them. You are operating under them, and you can't question up their authority. So you don't overstand or stand over. As real living men and women in the red rooty soil in which we stand, the red blood of the living man. We stand on the land, they deal in the water. That's what the water represents the blue. The black represents dead things. So dead bodies on the water. That's why they use things in blue or black. When you sign in blue, you're signing that you're in the water, but you're not necessarily dead. But that's why they want you to usually sign in black ink to represent the dead thing. You as a living thing are always in the present, but they want you to become the dead entity, the all caps name, the nom de gore, the straw man, public transmitting utility, your ens legis, the legal person. Because then that forms a contract, joinder, binding you, alter ego. You don't know, they don't know where the real you begins and the dead you ends. So just like a cake, if you bake a cake and you put some dog shit in it, the whole cake is tainted. I'm not eating that. The whole thing by lowest common denominator makes it then dirty. So now let's listen to what they have written here, and I'll critique. Let us begin.
Generally, a non-resident alien individual is engaged in trade or business within the U.S. if he or she.
Now hold on. There's a lot going on in this sentence. We have to break this down. It says generally. Generally does not mean 100%. This can be fooling. This is trickery right here. A non-resident alien individual, meaning a non-resident alien. So remember when they asked you to prove residency? If they ask you to prove residency, and of course we're looking at words inside from their perspective, the sandbox, And we're looking at words from their perspective. So from their perspective, if they said you had to prove residency, that means at that time, before you proved it to them and registered your name, you were considered a non-resident. But by law, you have the ability to self-declare. So when you declare something properly, you can tell them I'm operating as a non-resident, a foreign national, a private citizen, state citizen, national, non-situs. Non-situs means not property of the city or the entity. So a non-resident alien, and I already made the video long before the IRS could change their little definition. We already know now that a non-resident alien for tax purposes is regarded as the same thing as a U.S. national. So what they're saying here is that a non-resident alien is a U.S. national, which is who and what you are. But let's go on. Individual generally means living person. If the government is using it. If it's not, then generally an individual can mean, just can mean a non-living entity. But generally it's supposed to mean a living entity. Is, okay, this is the modifier, engaged, commercial terms here, in trade or business. This means that you're saying that I'm doing U.S. things, commercial, modifier within, keyword in, the U.S. Now here, they're not saying if it's United States of America or the United States Corporation for commercial terms. We know they mean U.S. Corp. Because if they want us to know this is the United States of America, it has to have the word America here, or the word or the letter A, or say in the geographical sense or the continental sense, the U.S., and they don't. So by common denominator, we have to then assume that it's the lowest one, which is the minor state, which is the U.S. corporation. The major state or estate would be America. So here they're already setting you up to believe that you are already taxable. Let's go on.
You are considered to be engaged in a trade or business in the United States if you are temporarily present in the United States as a non-immigrant on an F, J, M, or Q visa.
So God help anybody coming here, and God help the people who live here trying to understand this. So they're already saying you're connected with doing business on the commercial side in the U.S. if you're here temporarily engaged in business in the U.S. That sounds like pretty much everybody already should be, these people should be taxpayers. And this is true if you don't overstand the information to know that depending on what you're doing, you may or may not actually be engaged in a trade or business. You may not have effectively connected your compensation to a trade or business.
Taxable part of any U.S. source scholarship or fellowship grant received by a non-immigrant in F, J, M, or Q status is treated as effectively connected with a trade or business in the United States. If you are a member of a partnership that at any time during the tax year is engaged in a trade or business in the United States, you are considered to be engaged in a trade or business in the United States. You usually are engaged in a U.S. trade or business when you perform personal services in the United States.
So once again, that right here sounds very damning, but not from the legal level. My argument would be, first of all, you're saying you. I'm not a you. I have a name. You is a general term to mean anybody who thinks this is them. You don't know my name. You're not using my name to know what I'm doing. I have the ability to say whether I am or not. But if you are actually doing something that is a trade or business, now what would that be? Once again, if you open up a corporation, LLC, INC, that's a trade or business in the United States. Stocks, bonds, you're working with the federal government. That's a trade or business within the United States, the corporation. So yes, depending on who you are, and it says usually does not mean all the time or 100% or in that particular action or moment or event. But if that is you and you are engaged to be contracted or connected when you perform personal services. So even in the public, there is a private section. This is where it gets weird, all right? If you draw a line down the center of your computer, there's the right side that's private and the left side that's public. On that public side, you can be on the public side and still yet doing something private. What would be an example of that? McDonald's. You think that McDonald's is a public company. They are not. Look it up. They are private, but they're on the public side for taxation. But they are, in fact, themselves a private corporation. They have locations that are open to the public, but they're on that side. So on the complete private side, you can do the opposite. You can be a private person, but then you're tapping into the public. I don't recommend it, but you can. But even like my company is a pass-through. It's tax exempt. But I am receiving compensation technically from public sources, but as it passes through my pass-through, and this compensation is gifted to a tax-exempt entity, it is then made clean and untaxable, exempt. Keep going.
Do JH and Associates, PA. Professional Tax Services. Home.
Yeah.
About
Already.
us. Our tax con. What is income effect?
Now, though they're not sponsoring me or this, and I appreciate them in advance for putting their information up. If you do need their services, I cannot vouch for them. I'm not responsible for your interaction with them, but obviously they have other services you guys can use if you are so inclined. Just throwing it out there. By no means are they connected to me, nor are they responsible for any of my materials and commentary. All rights reserved. Okay, let's get back to it. Here we go.
If you own and operate a business in the United States selling services, products, or merchandise, you are, with certain exceptions, engaged in a trade or business in the United States.
Now, I'm not going to give away the gem drop here completely for certain reasons. But I will give you this. If you're smart enough to understand the information I'm giving you, I can't give away everything that's private on the public side because that is part of the game. Isn't it, board members? Isn't it, Department of State? Isn't it, other three-letter agencies? Isn't it, my fellow people in the municipal enforcement who like to watch my videos and legal departments? You guys watch me. I've got people who watch you. But isn't it, in fact, you cannot reveal everything in the private on the public side. YouTube is a public platform. When you understand the game, you have to understand that you cannot share everything that you've learned in the public. It is private. This is their game, folks. But what I will give you is that if they're saying that if you own and operate a business in the United States, that is a U.S. person. All I'm going to say is think about it. And that entitles you to do work here in the United States. Educationally speaking, let's keep going.
States. For example, profit from the sale in the United States of inventory property purchased either in this country or in a foreign country is effectively connected trade or business income. Gains and losses from the sale or exchange of U.S. real property interests, whether or not they are capital assets, are taxed as if you are engaged in a trade or business in the United States.
A lot of words here, because depending on how you set up yourself or your structure, me. Excuse me. Depending on how you set yourself up, they're going to use words that they have jurisdiction over. Gain, loss, effectively connected, trade or business. These are their words. Then down here, from rental, that's a commercial term. Real property, they're saying you're connecting what is your real property to the term rental. Lowest common denominator, you've tainted it. Maybe treated, maybe, doesn't mean always. Treated as effective connected. So let's go on.
You must treat the gain or loss as effectively connected with that trade or business. Income from the rental of real.
That is true. That's why in the IRS code 25.1.1.3.3, it says you need to pre-plan. You need to pre-plan. If you just try to not pay taxes and you haven't updated anything, you are doing tax evasion. If you pre-plan and set up things and convert things properly, then you're good. Don't do it right, and that's evasion. And that's how they're going to come at you. They're not going to ask you, hey, are you trying to practice tax avoidance? Nope. They're going to assume the worst because that's where the money's made. Let's go.
Real property may be treated as ECI if the taxpayer elects to do so. If
So
a non-U.S.
once again, they're calling you out of your name. Dear taxpayer, no, I have a name. Taxpayer is already assuming that I am, in fact, a taxpayer. Taxpayer means a U.S. citizen. Who the hell told you I was that? I'm going to cross out the word taxpayer because I'm not that. Let's go.
Do JH and Associates. If a non-U.S. person is engaged in a U.S. trade or business in the United States, all income, gain, or loss for the tax year that the non-U.S. person earns from sources within the U.S., other than certain investment income, is considered to be effectively connected income, ECI, and subject to U.S. tax at graduated rates unless rate under a tax treaty applies. Generally, you can receive effectively connected income only if you are a non-resident alien engaged in a trade or business in the United States during the tax year. However, income you receive in another tax year from the sale or exchange of property, the performance of services, or any other transaction is treated as effectively connected in that year.
Treated. Did you hear that? Once again, you have to pre-plan. You're going to buy something or you have something and you don't want it to be taxable, you have to pre-plan. They're telling you what you guys need to do, but most of you, no offense, are not sitting down and reading through what they have to say. And the few that do don't understand the information and the jurisdictions. I do. I then bring you guys a short version of it. Do your own due diligence. Don't just listen to me or anybody on YouTube. Have you guys forgot that there's crazy people out there? Depressed people, messed up people, agents of various elite cabals, municipalities, governments, states, whatever else, that will put out false information. Do you know how many things the government itself has been caught lying on, hidden from the public, done to the public, only some of which has ever been exposed? And they, of course, didn't compensate the whole United States for it. Maybe some of the people that survived through certain things. I mean, let's not forget what they did to the Native Americans. Yeah, sure, it's great. We've got a little park we can live on. Yeah, when we used to own the whole damn nation from sea to sea, we don't have to pay taxes. Great. Didn't have to pay taxes when we own this land anyway. And I'm going to put this out there. I don't know how to help, and I don't know if any of you guys can help, but I just want you guys to understand that right now, amongst many horrible things going on, there has been a quiet atrocity, atrocities of Native American women being kidnapped from reservations because those reservations do not have the resources or the jurisdiction to leave the reservation to find and locate these missing women. Nobody knows who's doing it. We can understand why. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But a prayer goes out to all of those people, and I pray for their return. Of course, our government and local people are like, well, that's your problem, but if we see them, we'll let you know. It is almost like a perfect storm, and it is very disheartening. Just want you guys to know, educationally speaking, one of the many things that goes on out there that most of you guys have never even heard about. Being part Native American, just wanted to bring that to you guys. Do with that information as you see fit. Unfortunately, like I said, most of us, there's nothing more we can do, but be vigilant for yourself, your friends, your family, and report any crimes or incidences that you see. In general, I digress. Let's get back to it. Thank you for listening.
Year, if it would have been effectively connected in the year the transaction took place or you performed the services. This applies whether or not there is any connection between the income and the trade or business being carried on in the United States during the tax year.
All right. Hey, there you guys are. So I'm going to use Chat GPT and queue it up in a second here. And now that we know what is effectively connected, how can I pre-plan and what steps are needed to ensure, and I hate to use their words, but I have to, my income is not effectively connected or considered connected to a trade or business in the United States per the IRS code. So right here, it says use foreign entities. What does foreign entities mean? Foreign entities means something that they cannot control or that has been deemed on how you use it. Also includes a social security number when done properly. But you want to use foreign entities. It's one of the reasons why the 98 number. All right. If a foreign entity has a fixed place of business in the U.S., it may trigger the effectively connected income. So they're telling you if you're saying the home base of whatever you're doing is not in the U.S., they can't tax it. Avoid signing contracts. Well, yeah, duh. Use non-U.S. banks to receive payments. Ensure services or work are performed outside the U.S. legally. Passive income versus active income. Passive income, interest, dividends, capital gains, rental income, is not effectively connected income unless it is connected to a trade or business. Ha 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 ha. Take that, take that, take that. All those people who said I was not right, I'm proven right once again. La-ti-da. To avoid IRS classifications as effectively connected income, file a W-8-BEN. Right there. Read it and weep. For certain foreign entities, there's the E version, but we use the W-8-BEN. Look, and it says with any U.S. payers to claim foreign status and tax benefits. Any U.S. payer. So those HR departments who watch my videos, here it is. Here's why you can be sued for not letting them file a W-8-BEN. Any U.S. payer. That's why on the W-8-BEN, it asks for your social. Who the hell is that form for if it has a social? My God, people just irked me at their stupid. It's right here. Use tax treaties where applicable to reduce your withholding. If engaged in U.S. trade, file form 1120-F for foreign corporations to report income properly. Legal contracts. Okay, like when you create your trusts, you want to put in there non-U.S. jurisdiction, no zip codes. Banking, IRS compliance, Form 1042-S reporting. If receiving income as a non-resident, verify withholding obligations. So apparently you can use the 1042-S. And 8833 is a treaty-based return position. If relying on a tax treaty, this form should be filed. Shazam. Seek professional guidance. Like an international tax attorney or a willing and knowledgeable CPA. I'm just saying. I don't know what to do with my hands. Well, you guys get it. All right. So it's understanding that anything that you want to accomplish is pretty much possible. How I got started and all this, you guys have already heard the stories, but one of the other things is when I used to hang around people who had, and I still do here and there, a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. And business owners, certain races, creeds, whatever else, all of them. I would always listen to what they had to say when doing their business. I would always try to help them out. And so they gave me some tidbits. I gave them some tidbits back. I still get tips and tricks and techniques and remedies from people out there. If you want to be one of them, send me some good information. Tell me where you got it, why it's valid, etc. And if it's not something that I can put out there, just tell me, hey, this is not for the public side. If it can be shared, tell me it's okay to share it. Please include any sources as much as possible. I may or may not use it. Okay. If it's definitely something that people can know, should know, and will help, I will not put out anything that's going to get people in any trouble. If I even remotely think that's what it will definitely not make it up. But overall, you guys now understand that depending on how you move, you are either taxable or tax exempt. But you have to pre-plan, just like the IRS says. I'm not creating things out of thin air. I'm literally reading their stuff. That page comes from other tax experts willing to share the information. Now, they didn't have a good rebuttal of how to not or to ensure you're not connected. But of course, they do taxes. So, of course, they want you to do your taxes. But they're letting you know that it exists. Once you know it exists, then you can start to see what the opposite of effectively connected is. Things that aren't effectively connected are private. United States of America, de jure. And then those are the things that you need to set up. I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the summer. Enjoy the sun. Get out there and get some light. It is great for your mental health and your physical bodies and your spiritual bodies. All right. Now, lastly, before we go, I just want to say something real quick. We are starting to grow in numbers. My other two primary channels, I do have like 5 or 6 other channels, but the 2 other channels, please join me on and support. Even if you support me here, jump on those channels. Unless you don't want to, you don't have to. But I've got Badwolf Unincorporated, or no, excuse me, Badwolf Unlimited. And then I've got the Badwolf Media Channel, or Badwolf Media Channel. Join me over there, because I'm going to be talking about all kind of things unrestricted. All right, in those areas. This area, you know, you have to, I'll say it this way. There's some things that you have to, you know, due to restrictions on YouTube and, you know, agencies, you have to phrase things a certain careful way. But in those other areas, we will definitely be giving you guys a lot of good information, educationally speaking, and for informational purposes only. I'll see you guys over there. Talk to you later. Good talk.